not the fault of Radio 1?
No.
Of course it's the fault of Radio 1.
No, it isn't, because it is a top 40 radio station.
Listen, you always compare this country to America. In America, as I said last night in San Francisco, you can receive 50 radio stations.
Yes, but...
Wait a minute, and they have good top 40 stations, and they are good to listen to for 10 minutes at a time. In this country, apart from commercial radio stations and BBC stations, who play all sorts of stuff, the commercial stations and Radio 1 play top 40 music. Now, Radio 1 is aptly called. It is the only national radio station there is. Therefore, it has a duty to present to the British public the widest possible spectrum of British music that there is available, that it considers is of quality to its audience. The BBC is frightened in doing that and restricts itself to playing safe all the way along the line with their disc jockeys and with their music policy.
You know as well as I do that when you play top 40 radio, you get a massive audience. As soon as we start playing progressive music during the day, do you honestly think we're going to get a massive audience for that?
Listen, why does there have to be this polarization between a hit single and something that goes at 33 and a third instead of 45? This is a fault of this country that's put about by the two sides of Radio 1, you on the one side and Pio on the other, by the music papers trying to be so hip and putting down top 30 singles. There are a lot of singles that make the chart that are very good records. To my mind, there are two categories of music, good music and bad music. And when I say I'm dissatisfied with the amount of and variety of music that Radio 1 put out, I was dissatisfied with the amount of music they allowed me to play. It's to give people a choice between, and hopefully that all the music I play is good music. I'm not an out-and-out progressive music fan, but I was told by middle-aged producers who live in suburbia, who don't read music papers, who don't go to concerts, who don't play records at home for their own entertainment, what records I should be playing for the people that I am going out and meeting in the street all the time. I went around doing discotheques, meeting hundreds of people every single week, getting the only possible feedback that I could get from the audience because the BBC is cut off from their listeners.
But the people, I don't agree with that at all. The people that you will meet in discotheques are not necessarily the people that are listening during the day, because they're at work.
But nobody can categorize or generalize about a radio audience. You can't say these people are all at work or these people are housewives, they want to hear this.
You can go for an audience that you think, surely a station can go for an audience that they think is there. There's no point in trying to cater for everybody, because you know as well as I do that if you try and cater for everybody, in the end you cater for nobody.
Which I believe is what Radio 1 is doing.
It isn't. It's catering for the people who want top 40 radio. We lose the audience when we go progressive at the weekends.
But you can't keep using in England this expression, top 40 radio. There's only one national radio station.
Yes, and
therefore that radio station has a duty to play more records than those that get in the charts.
I don't think that at all. I think that there should be, and I think we agree on this, that there should be more radio stations in this country. I think London should have 10, 20 radio stations, and that way, then you can have one station that plays progressive, you can have a country and western station, and then you can have a top 40 station. But I don't see any reason why Radio 1, after all, there are a lot of areas that don't have any other radio station apart from Radio 1, and I think they should cater for the mass audience, as we're doing. And the mass audience want to hear, you know very well, hit records rotated every 3 hours.
That.
Well, you don't believe it. I think you're wrong.
The top 40 system in America is a rotation of hit records.
And very successfully done as well.
Right, but then if the listener gets pissed off after 10 minutes, they can tune into another station. You just said yourself, there are some places in the country they can only get Radio 1.
Yes, but until there is a station that will give them an alternative, I think that they should be allowed to cater for the majority audience. If you live down in Devon, for instance, you can only get Radio 1 or Radio 2, Radio 4, Radio 3. And I don't believe that one should cater for an audience that basically is a minority audience all the time.
It's not a minority audience.
It is a minority audience.
The majority of the people out there enjoy hearing their hit singles, but they just love their radio to give them something that they're not expecting. They'd be entertained on two levels. One, of a surprise that they didn't expect to hear that from Radio 1, and two, they'd enjoy the piece of music anyway.
We beg to differ.
If you want to talk about ratings, there's nothing wrong with my ratings at the BBC.
I never said that.
For about the last year and a half, I practically wore myself down to a nervous wreck, fighting everybody within the BBC to have a wider choice of music on my programme. virtually everybody was against me, with the exception of certain producers who have weekend programs and things.
Yes, and who have no audiences.
The reason why I was kept on the air was because my ratings were good. And over the last 12 months, all the indications that the BBC have had from their audience, and they have done 6 specialist listening panel investigations into my program. I've never known them do more than one a year before. They've done at least getting on for 6 in the last 12 months. And that's reached a figure of 75% satisfaction on all counts, i.e. not too much talk, nice variety of music. I happen to know what the figures were on the listening panel audience research for your program and for Noel Edmonds, and I'm not going to say what they were.
Yes, but you're taking...
didn't get up to 75.
Of course not, because you know as well as I do that any program that specialises a little bit gets a higher appreciation audience. We're going into things that I'm sure that a lot of our listeners don't understand now, but you're taking it too personally.
I'm not taking it personally. I mean,
Yes, you are.
I wanted to...
I'm not criticising you as a disc jockey. I think you're a very good disc jockey at what you do. I think you were very wise to get out of Radio 1, because I don't think you were suitable for Radio 1, and I don't think you thought that you were suitable for Radio 1 because you were playing music that you didn't like.
You don't think John Peel's suitable for Radio 1? I mean, when I mentioned your name in that New Musical Express article, that was the first time that I'd ever publicly said anything against you. Mm-hmm. You've never wasted an opportunity to have a go at John Peel and myself. In fact, your words to me were one morning, not publicly but privately, was, quote, a disc jockey shouldn't get involved with music.
I agree with that. I think a disc jockey should present music that people want to hear. In other words, the top 30 or top 40. And what I basically meant was, one of the quotes that has always sort of bugged me was the fact that I said that I thought that John Peel, at the time, when he was on Just Medium Wave, should be on Radio 3. And I still believe that. I think Radio 3 should be used more for progressive music. I think a lot of your programs should have been on Radio 3. And it was significant then that suddenly John Peel appeared in stereo VHF. I think your sort of music needs stereo VHF. Yep, and it was a serious point.
Don't tell me that the only people that like the Sutherland Brothers and the Eagles... I was the first person to play the Eagles in this country. I was the first person to play tracks from the album Frampton Comes Alive. You're telling me that the type of people that like that music that go out and buy that album are Radio 3 listeners? That's ridiculous.
They will follow you to Radio 3.
Oh, come on, Tony. The people in this... what frightens me about the situation now is the teenagers who listen to Radio 1 will think that pop music means a 3.5-minute record and that's all there is. And that pop music radio means a 3-minute record and then a DJ. You've admitted yourself you tell inane jokes and
yeah, of course I do. That's what, it's fun radio. Fun radio. I mean, you have no sense of humour.
I do have a sense of humour, but the music that you play is important. Most Radio 1 disc jockeys, the thing that seems to be lost on their mind is what records they play. The only thing they're interested is in selling themselves.
Absolute rubbish. I sit there for 3 hours in the morning. I thoroughly enjoy the music that I'm playing, particularly at the moment because we are formatted much more than when you were with us. And
Which is why I got out.
Exactly. Okay, I enjoy the music that I play immensely on that program. You suggested that the pressures on you last night, going round, opening up supermarkets, doing discotheques, meant that you weren't able to concentrate on the music and the music became secondary. I don't believe in that. I enjoy every moment of what I do on the radio. And I don't accept the fact that opening up supermarkets and getting involved with things such as commercials and other television shows matters one iota. That's part of the job.
Okay, well, let me tell you what I think a disc jockey should do.
Yeah.
I think his role should be to entertain the audience. If there's a certain place for corny gags and talking rubbish to do that, then that has its place also. But his primary responsibility as a disc jockey is to do everything that he possibly can to be in touch with both his audience and the music scene.
Okay.
Now, you tell me now, after all your TV appearances, opening supermarkets, how much time per week you devote to listening to albums and singles?
To listening to albums and singles?
Yeah.
Not to albums, because I'm not interested in albums, because I don't play albums on the program. I do a lot of listening to the singles on the radio, because I'm listening on the radio the whole time.
So you're not interested in albums at all?
Not in the slightest.
So don't you think that there's a large section of your audience that actually goes out on a Saturday morning to Boots or W.H. Smith and buys an album, forks out £3.5, £4 to purchase the album?
Sure. I'm a top 40.
Don't you think that means that they then should be entitled to hear that album occasionally on the radio?
Yeah, therefore there should be a station that plays them. But it shouldn't be Radio 1.
But
Johnny...
isn't. So Radio 1 should try and to try and at least own up to albums are popular, and because there's something there that revolves at a different speed, it's just as worthwhile to put on the radio, and the audience will gain just as much enjoyment from it as from a single. Why restrict everything to singles?
Johnny, thank you very much indeed for calling.
Well,
I think that pardon?
You want to end it there?
I would like to, because we have other callers waiting.
Okay.
Okay, Johnny, thank you very much.
All right.
I'm sure that everybody think that we're terrible enemies, which we are not, are we?
No, I wouldn't like to think anybody is my enemy.
No, we disagree. We disagree on radio.
Right. When it comes down to the radio system in this country, then we just agree to disagree.
Yeah, we agree to disagree. I have my view. You have your view. And I wish you the very best of luck. I was delighted to hear that you have the job on the American radio station.
Thank you very much.
I wish you the best of luck there.
And I can only say, and my last words is, I sincerely hope that Radio 1 will broaden its outlook on the kind of music it plays, because it is the only station for a lot of people, and therefore to restrict itself to just top 43-minute singles is a mistake.
And I sincerely say, Johnny, that I hope it doesn't. Thank you for calling.
Well, time will tell which one of us is right.
It will.
Okay.
Thanks, bye-bye.
Bye now.
Cheerio. There you go. So that was Johnny Walker there. And nice to talk to him, and thank you very much to Robbie Vincent for getting in touch with Johnny. And I'm very hurt that he wasn't listening in. I always assumed that he listened into to my programmes to get hints. 4 minutes now past 11 o'clock here on Radio London. I'm terribly sorry to anybody who we've kept hanging on there, but it's very important that if I'm talking about the Johnny Walker attitude on radio, that he can answer back. It would have been even better if he could have come into the studio. But I think, actually, there would be no point in saying that it would be a good thing to come in now, because we've said all that can be said, and we go around in circles, and we tend to disagree on things. Hello, good evening.